Hi guys, today I am going to show you how to use font awesome 5 icons with SASS. So I have a folder here and today I am going to discuss two different folder structures where if I go into this I have the CSS and SCSS and CSS at same level. So when I write SCSS files here, my styles here, it automatically gets compiled into my CSS folder. So this is one structure, and the next one is what if the SCSS is somewhere else. Resources, assets and CSS, and they must be compiled to this public folder. So hope you got that two different structures. I'm going to open this my works folder in a code editor. So this is the code editor now. So inside this app we have SCSS and CSS at same level, where in the project folder we have SCSS at under resources and assets, and these SCSS files gets compiled to the public folder. So we will be serving files from this public folder. Typically any project will have the same structure. So let's get started now. First what we are going to do is we need to download font awesome 5 icons. So I have downloaded here. When I open this zip file, I will be having a web fonts with CSS folder. Inside this I need to grab these two folders, SCSS and web fonts. So I am copying this to my folder here. Let me close this now. So we need to copy the files inside this SCSS completely into the SCSS folder in the Gulp CSS starter kit here in this folder, where the SCSS and CSS are at same level. Okay, next we need to copy these web fonts at the same level. So when we see in the code editor, now what we are having is we are having SCSS files with all these font awesome 5 SCSS variables and all files. So web fonts and CSS, these three are at same level now. Okay, so this is my index file. Let me open my style.scss file. The SCSS style.scss is compiled into two versions here, style and style.min.css. So I have linked them here, css/style.css. Okay, let's get started now. First go to SCSS folder and search for a file called _variables.scss. So what we are going to do is we need to modify the font path, fa-font path. So we need to point this folder path to web fonts. So it is by default it is at the same level, so we no need to modify here. This is fine for this folder structure. Okay, so let's get into the SCSS style.scss. First we need to write import statement here. Import font awesome .scss. So the file is here, font awesome.scss. We need to import this file, and again we need to import fa-solid.scss and also import fa-brands.scss and import fa-regular.scss. So we have included this font awesome.scss, and we need to import one more. Import fa-solid.scss. So we have included 5 files: font awesome file, the regular solid brands. Sorry, I have included a solid twice, so I am removing it. Okay, we have imported the 4 files: 1, 2, 3 and 4. All the 4 files are imported here, and click on save. So when I go to this folder, if I write i.fas.fa-user and click on save, as you can see, we got the font awesome icon. Let me write this in a h1 tag. As you can see, we have included the font awesome icons using SCSS into our project folder. Hope you got that. And one more option is also available here. We no need to include all these files. If we write suppose user, this is a custom class now. So to use this custom class, what we are going to do is, I am targeting the user class. We need to write include statement. So we need to include this mixin fa-icon. This is present in the mixins.css. fa-icon, this is a mixin, so I am including it here. And I need to extend a class called .fas, because user belongs to the FAS font awesome solid classification, so you need to include FAS icon here, and colon. So I am using the pseudo element here. For the content, we can also write fa-content as $fa-var-user. So when you visit font awesome 5 icon site, click on the icon section, you will be having different classifications here: solid, regular, light and brands. We cannot use lights because this is a pro. So when you click on light, you will be having all the pro icons here. So click on solid and click on any other icon. See, it belongs to the solid classification, so we are having a FAS here. Similarly, if we have a look at brand section and click on one of the brands here and write say, so it belongs to brands, so FAB here. So when you use the pseudo element here, fa-content as fa-content, and to use a variable you need to insert a var in between these two. Suppose if I want to use this Android section, so what can I do is, I'll copy this fa-android. I need to extend the FAB class because it belongs to the brands class. So I need to extend the FAB class here, and I need to write fa-var-android and click on save. As you can see, we have a custom class but with a predefined icon. I used user class here even though I have an Android icon. Hope you got that. Let's get into another folder structure. I'm closing these two files. Now I am jumping into my project folder. So let me open here so that it is visible. So inside the project folder we have a resources. Inside the assets we have a SCSS file. So currently it is empty. What I'm going to do is I'll copy these SCSS files into the project resources folder. And we need to copy these web fonts into the public folder, the folder from which we are serving our index.html file. This is main important here. Okay, let me show you this in the editor. This is the SCSS. So our SCSS gets compiled into CSS here, and we are having a web fonts folder in the public folder. Okay, did you get that? Okay, now let's go to the SCSS file, and under variables click on that, and we need to change the font path here. So font path is here. While we are accessing the file from CSS, we need to move its parent. So inside the if there is a style.css file inside CSS, so we need to access web fonts, we need to move ahead of parent, and from there we need to load the web fonts. Okay, this is by default it is correct. Now we need to create our style.scss file here. And I need to create some boilerplate for the HTML. I need to write link CSS /style.css. To compile this, I am making use of Ruby SASS. So the syntax is SCSS -- watch resources / assets 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 / public assets / SCSS /style.scss public /css /style.css. So when I hit enter, you can see here we are having the style.css. So for testing purpose, let me write body bgc equal to red, and when I click on save, automatically the style.css is compiled. So we'll load this index.html here. From the inside public, I am loading the index.html file here. If I remove the background color and save, you can see the color is gone. Okay, now here also we need to import FrontEndFunn.scss, and we need to import all other SCSS classes like fa-b brands.scss and @import fa-solid.scss and @import fa-regular dot SCSS. So we have imported all the 4 SCSS files here. FrontEndFunn.scss, solid, regular, brands, solid, regular and brands. So I am writing a h1 tag here. Inside the h1 I am going to write fa-fab using brand fa-android, and when I click on save and I try to reload the file, you have an Android icon here. Similarly, we can add a custom class like some user, and we need to include a mixin called fa-icon, and we need to extend .fab because it belongs to the brand classification, and I am making use of after element instead of before. Content fa-content fa-var-android, and I click on save. SASS gets compiled. So I am going to make a div with a class of user, and let's see. So we have a small icon here. So this belongs to the custom class. Let me style this custom class dot user font-size. Let me set to 8 times and set its color to say red. See, we can make use of even custom classes and make the icon appear. Hope you got that. Thanks for watching. Please do watch my other videos on my channel. Bye.